Just glad that we've had continued dialogue about systematic racism, bigotry, and hatred. Uh, First and foremost, we find empathy in the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. We must educate our Black youth, submit to whatever the cops need them to do. Um, Put your hands on the steering wheel, obey, survive. Those are some of the things. And just to talk a little bit, and I've been involved with Adam previously in another Rising Coaches conversation, and something that I got out of it actually came from Amir from Kennesaw State. This is not black versus white at all, and I've been thinking about that. It's about right versus wrong. At the end of the day, this is what it's about. Things being done right. Because at the end of the day, there's good people in good positions, in different positions, in different races. So, that's just some of the thoughts that I have. Just kind of piggybacking off of what was in the video. This is something that I had on my mind, even on my heart before we watched the video. Is for black men, we never said it. We say it's Black Lives Matters. We never said only Black Lives Matters. We know all lives matter. We just need your help with Black Lives Matter. For Black lives are in danger. So that's just kind of my thoughts on things. Things that we've done with our team. We've had at least once a week we've met on Zoom as a team to chat and talk about our guys' thoughts. And I'll be honest, I'm at a historically Black university, and we have a team full of African Americans. And a lot of our guys, to be honest with you, feel in danger. And so do I. I'm a 35-year-old African American male. And, I share these thoughts with others. Like, I should not be someone that when a police officer drives behind me, because I kind of live in a rural area of Baton Rouge, I should feel in danger when a police officer is behind me. And since things have escalated over the last couple of months, I'm gonna be honest, I feel a little bit of danger with that. So I'm a guy that, during this time period, I've been angry, I've been frustrated, and I've been scared. So those are just some of my thoughts of what is going on in today's society.
It is an honor to be on here. Obviously, the events that led us being on here is pretty shitty, to be honest with you. But I think with a lot of the events that have happened lately, like the riots and things like that, and a lot of people talking about 2020 is, hey, it's been a terrible year from, COVID to, these events that are happening. I think it actually might end up being the best year we've ever had as a country, because a lot of this stuff would never change. Okay. If some of these things didn't happen, these riots, if it was just a peaceful protest, it would have been the same thing that's happened over many, many years. I think the riots and the loot, it has to happen. People have to get angry enough to say enough's enough, or a lot of bad stuff's going to happen. And it finally, I feel like it has the attention of the country now on a different level. And, I think that's what the riots did, which I think in turn is going to hopefully be a good thing. Obviously educate myself, and all the other white people need to educate themselves a lot more. Just because we're in athletics or we love people, we've worked with people, most of our student athletes, are Black, that still doesn't mean that we know the history of African-American people. Like I grew up in Montana. We weren't studying African-American history. And I don't know what states may do that. I don't know. But what I do know is not all 50 states are doing that. And so not all people are educated enough. And in turn, that's why events like this happen. And, stuff I've done with my team, obviously you mentioned, some of the protests, which, most of you guys are probably not familiar with Bozeman, Montana, but it's about, 55,000 people. And at the protests we had, there was about 5,000 people there. Almost 10% of the whole, the town, it's not even a city, the town showed up. And I thought it was great for my players to be able to see that support that they have from the community. And it shows the kind of community we have. I was proud of Bozeman for doing that. We've had, a lot of, SAC meetings, which a lot of you guys probably have at your universities. I actually mandated, 2 or 3 of our guys did that. They didn't want to do it, but I mandated they do it because I think it's important for them to get their voice heard all over campus and within the athletic department. We've been doing Zoom meetings, just like Coach Price mentioned he did with his teams. Talking individually with each guys. That's something that I've tried to do as the head coach because I think it's important. Not just getting everybody on a Zoom meeting, but one guy I took him to breakfast. Another guy I called him. One guy I went to his apartment because I need to learn how they're feeling. Some of them act like they're not affected, but they are, and some they'll let you know their frustrations. And that's stuff that as white coaches we need to know. Because a lot of times they'll tell you a lot of stuff. They may not tell us everything because of what they've been through or what events they've, that have occurred in their life. And I think a reason to be a part of this is obviously, just to be part of the solution, to get more ideas from you guys that I can feed into my team, to my assistant coaches, to friends, family, all that. Because, I think Coach Price said it wrong. I think he said the coach at Kennesaw said it. It's basically just, it's not a race issue. It's right versus wrong. And there's been a lot of wrong going on that needs to be righted.
Sprinkle, I'll go ahead and ask you a question here. Coach Sprinkle, what do Black Lives Matter mean to you? I think he needs to unmute.
There we go. Sorry about that. Black Lives Matter to me means that it's a white problem. Obviously, Black Lives Matter to every Black person. Now it needs to start meaning something and mattering to everybody. And it hasn't for a long time to everybody. And that's what needs to start happening. If I could sum it up in one word, it's equality. And I can't even remember who tweeted it about a month ago. And they said, all we're asking for is equality. You're lucky we're not coming for revenge. Which, like, that struck me because the way I am, and I don't like the way I am a lot of the time, but if somebody pisses you off, you want revenge. If somebody beats you in a basketball game, you want to get revenge. And the way Black people have been treated in this country for so long, it's amazing. Like, obviously, revenge hasn't been taken. Like, all you're asking for is, I just want to be treated just like you. Okay. We've all recruited high schools, and, I was in Los Angeles, and I mean, God bless me with the opportunity to work with Bobby Braswell for a long time, who's like my second dad, and Dedrick Taylor, who many of you know, who, if you're a Black coach on here, you need to get to know Dedrick Taylor. He runs a thing called the Think Tank, which I'll get to probably later, but you need to get in touch with Dedrick Taylor, the head coach at Cal State Fullerton. And, but you go into some of these schools and you see the disadvantage they're at. You go to, you see the learning environment that they're put in. Some kids haven't eaten. Some of them, it's chaos sometimes when you're going to the classroom, but yet they're expected to exceed at the college level. just like everybody else. They're expected to score high on the SAT, ACT just to get into school. And it's not a level playing field. And until you've kind of been educated, I'm not even close to being educated enough, but I've seen that firsthand. Not everybody in Montana has seen that. And, until you really do, it doesn't really make the impact on you that it needs to. And so, I see so many guys on here, Leonard Perry, I could go on forever, I wouldn't be a head coach here at Montana State without them. And, I can't thank them enough, but, I think until there's equality around, you can't really say Black Lives Matter, because if it's not equal, it's not. My question to you, Coach Price, would be, as a white head coach, what are some actions, specific actions that I could take with, not only my Black players, but my entire program, to not just impact change like a couple of people have mentioned, not just for the next year, not just for the 4 years of their career. This thing needs to start lasting a lifetime.
Yeah, I think when you gave your opening statement, I think there were some things that you talked about. I think that was a good thing that you had started. Obviously, getting a chance to spend some extra time with some of your players, and I know you had talked about like some of them. They seemed like it didn't bother them, but I mean, and I don't know your kids, but I would think that it's got to bother them. They may not open up that well. But the one thing I do feel like you have to do in your position is listen. A lot of times, just listen and just let them do a lot of the talking. Because I'll be honest, especially a lot of young African American males in this country are angry right now. So that's one of the things. I would tell you, just be there for them, support them, show compassion for what's going on with them, and have a compassion for them. I think, little things, maybe bringing in speakers, bringing speakers in to communicate with them and not just your players, but your staff. I think that'll help a lot of things as well, just doing that. And I know you had just brought up like reading, educate yourself, read books, there's Netflix documentaries that I'm seeing people put in the chat box, pull ideas from those things, and talk. And I mean, you mentioned some of the coaches that you're friends with. Talk with some of your African American friends who could give you a pulse on things that you can do as well. So, for me, I just think bottom line, make your players feel like you're there for them, and those are the things that I feel you can do for yourself. Talk to them a little bit about. And we're talking about social injustice. If you get pulled over by a police officer, comply. If they tell you, make sure they comply with the officer so they aren't the next victim. It's simple put. So, Black Lives Matter. That's just my opinion on things, and just be sincere, because we know the 100+ people that are on this chat right now know our players know when you're real and when you're fake. Have a compassion and care about the issue. And I think if you do those things, I think that'll help a lot.